سيداتي سادتي، يصل الآن إلى منصة الاحتفال أعضاء هيئة التدريس بجامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية، ويقودهم نائب الرئيس للأبحاث البروفيسور بيير ماجستريتي.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming the faculty of King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, led by Professor Pierre Magistretti, Vice President for Research.
وريف. أعتقد أنه شعور لا يوصف رؤية هذا العدد الرائع جدا من أعضاء هيئة التدريس الذين تم استقطابهم من شتى بقاع الأرض، يخدمون البحث العلمي في المملكة العربية السعودية من أرض جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Abdurrahman. It is really amazing to see how many faculty members we have from all over the world.
أهلا وسهلا بأعضاء هيئة تدريس جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية. نرجو من الجميع إعطائهم تحية مرة أخرى.
Welcome to our distinguished faculty.
أيها الحفل الكريم، يتم الآن تقديم المرشحين لنيل الدرجات الأكاديمية. نرجو الترحيب أولاً بالمرشحين لدرجة الدكتوراه، ويقودهم البروفيسور أروى الأعمى، نائب الرئيس للتعليم والتقدم المؤسسي.
The degree candidates are now entering the ceremony site. Leading the way are the Doctor of Philosophy candidates, accompanied by Professor Arwa Al-A'ma, Vice President for Education and Advancement.
أيها الحفل الكريم، ويليهم في المسيرة خريجو الدفعة الأولى لدرجة برنامج الماجستير في الابتكار التقني وريادة الأعمال بقيادة البروفيسور عامر فاروق.
Please welcome the first cohort of candidates for the Master of Technology Innovation and Entrepreneurship, led by Professor Amir Farouk.
ويليهم في المسيرة المرشحون لدرجة الماجستير في العلوم ومرشحو برنامج الدبلوم العالي من قسم العلوم والهندسة البيولوجية والبيئية، ويقودهم عميد القسم البروفيسور ماثيو ماكيب.
Next, please join us in welcoming the master's degree candidates along with our postgraduate diploma candidates from the Division of Biological and Environmental Sciences and Engineering, led by their Dean, Professor Matthew McCabe.
والآن نرجو الترحيب بالمرشحين لدرجة الماجستير في العلوم ودرجة الماجستير في الهندسة ومرشحي برنامج الدبلوم العالي من قسم العلوم والهندسة الحاسوبية والكهربائية والحسابية بقيادة عميد القسم البروفيسور جان لوكا سيتي.
Now, please welcome the Master of Science, Master of Engineering, and postgraduate diploma candidates from the Division of Computer, Electrical, Mathematical Sciences and Engineering, led by their Dean, Professor Gianluca Setti.
أيها الحفل الكريم، ويليهم في المسيرة المرشحون لدرجة الماجستير في العلوم ومرشحو برنامج الدبلوم العالي من قسم العلوم والهندسة الفيزيائية بقيادة عميد القسم البروفيسور تشاك تشان.
Now, please welcome the master's degree candidates and postgraduate diploma candidates from the Division of Physical Sciences and Engineering, led by their dean, Professor Chak Chan. I know.
نرجو التكرم بالوقوف للسلام الملكي للمملكة العربية السعودية.
Please rise for the playing of the national anthem of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
حفلنا الكريم، نأمل منكم التكرم بالجلوس لنستمع الآن إلى تلاوة عطرة من القرآن الكريم يتلوها مرشح الدكتوراه عبادة عبد العزيز نور ولي.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. And now for a recitation from the Holy Quran, presented by PhD candidate Ubada Abdel Aziz Noor Wali.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم.
والآن نرجو الترحيب بنائب الرئيس للشؤون الأكاديمية البروفيسور عمر كنيعو.
Please welcome to the podium the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Professor Omar Knirou.
Distinguished guests, President, faculty, staff, degree candidates, and families, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 2025 Commencement celebration. Class of 2025, we come together to honor you. We are so proud of your diligence and commitment. Today, we celebrate your achievements during your journey with Kaust. It is now my honor to welcome the President of King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Professor Sir Edward Byrne, AC.
Your Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman Al Saud, Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, families, and of course, most importantly, the Kaust class of 2025. Good evening to you all. Let me begin by offering my heartfelt congratulations to our graduates, but also to your parents, your mentors, and all those who have believed in you and supported your journey. Today is both a culmination and, of course, in some senses, a beginning. You graduate at a remarkable moment for Kaust and for Saudi Arabia, and for a world that is changing at breathtaking speed. Across every frontier of knowledge, from energy and sustainability to data and health, the future is being rewritten. The challenges are truly vast, but so, today's graduates, is your capacity to meet them. During your years at Kaust, you have all learned something profound. You discovered, probably at different speeds and in different ways, that discovery itself is not a single act, but a way of being, a discipline of curiosity, of courage, and of purpose. You all have learned to ask the difficult questions and to direct knowledge towards the service of humanity. So at the end of the day, for all of today's graduates, the true measure of your education will not be what you know, but how the world is better off because you know it. A great research university such as Kaust is much more than a place of learning. It's a crucible where ideas become capability and ambition becomes impact. Here, on this campus, and within our graduates, curiosity is transformed into contribution, and you all now carry that transformation with you. Your journey from campus to global influence unfolds in 3 phrases: formation, exposure, and impact. In formation, you all build the confidence to think independently and the courage, which is very real, to explore the unknown. Through exposure, you are connected and you have connected your knowledge to the wider world, discovering that insight gains power only when shared. And now comes impact, the moment when what you have learned begins to change the world through the companies, communities, and causes that will look to you for leadership. Good universities produce graduates who find opportunities. Great universities, and Kaust is one of those, produce graduates who create them, who create opportunities. The world you all enter today is, as I've said, one of unprecedented disruption. Artificial intelligence, AI, is reshaping work and innovation. Climate change is testing the resilience of our planet. Global conflict and collaboration are redefining how nations reimagine their futures. Yet I have no doubt that you are ready. Today's graduates, you all leave Kaust knowing that the problems that matter most cannot be solved by one discipline alone. You understand that knowledge knows no borders and that progress depends on collaboration across cultures. Every major breakthrough of our time, from mRNA vaccines, and what an amazing story that has been, to renewable energy, was born from minds working across continents and, even more importantly, across perspectives. So here in Saudi Arabia, Vision 2030 embodies that same spirit of transformation. It recognizes at its very heart that the nation's greatest resource is its people, their creativity, intellect, and collective determination to shape a better future. Kaust stands at the heart of that vision as a global institution where ideas are not only discovered but deployed for the good of humanity at large. To our graduates, the challenges ahead for all of you are many, but the possibilities for all of you are infinitely greater still. You will all confront issues no generation before you has faced, and you will craft solutions that no generation before you could even begin to imagine. The world does not need more people who know. It needs more people who care enough to use what they know. Every generation inherits the world as it is. My hope for yours is that more than generations before you, you will deliver the world as it should be. As you all leave Kaust, carry with you not only your degree, but your sense of purpose. Let curiosity be your compass, courage your strength, and compassion your constant guide. The journey ahead for all of you is uncertain, but it belongs to you, and I'm confident that you will all meet it with brilliance, imagination, and more important than most things, a high degree of integrity. On behalf of our University Kaust, I could not be prouder of all that you have accomplished and all that you will achieve in the future. So again, congratulations, class of 2025, and thank you all for being part of Kaust.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce the class of 2025 student commencement speaker, Layla Ad-Dakhil. Layla joined Kaust in 2017 as a master's student in Professor Stefan Arold's lab, where she used cryo-electron microscopy to study protein structures and their functions. During this time, she also worked at the startup company Red Sea Farms, where she gained valuable experience in sustainable agriculture, focusing on food security and freshwater conservation. She completed her PhD in bioscience at Kaust under the supervision of Professor Alexander Rosado. Her doctoral research focused on investigating mangrove microbes and their role in plastic degradation, aiming to develop sustainable solutions for plastic waste. During her doctoral studies, Layla received several prestigious awards, including the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science Middle East Award, the BCG V60 Award from the Boston Consulting Group, and the Bessie Best Achievement Award for Outstanding Professional Development and Career Achievement. She has presented her research at multiple international conferences, where she was recognized with the Best Poster Award and was invited as a speaker. Beyond her academic work, Layla is an active member of Precious Plastics at Kaust, contributing campus-wide initiatives focused on recycling and reuse of plastic materials. In 2023, she also had the opportunity to mentor high school students through the Kaust Virtual Academy, leading her team to win first place for Best Project. Having recently earned her doctorate, Dr. Al-Dakhil is now exploring new opportunities to expand her research and apply her expertise in sustainable environmental biotechnology. Please join me in welcoming the Kaust 2025 Commencement student speaker, Layla Al-Dakhil.
Good afternoon, and Assalamu alaikum. Your Royal Highness, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Chair of Kaust Board of Trustees, our distinguished guests, esteemed faculty, fellow graduates, and our families and friends. As I look around, I see future scientists, engineers, innovators, and leaders, each ready to revolutionize our world and tackle global challenges in medicine, food security, sustainability, and energy. From this moment onward, we embrace our new roles, not only as graduates, but as ambassadors of Kaust to the world. Each of us carries a story of challenges that have transformed who we are. My story might not be unique, but I share it as a reflection of the strength and perseverance within our graduating class. I was born with a genetic health condition that I share with my two older sisters. Later, I learned I also have another related issue, which means that I cannot eat certain type of food. I still remember that I didn't take it well when the doctor said you can no longer eat fool or falafel. Growing up, I watched my sisters, despite their hard work and courage, struggle with their health that kept them from finishing college. I knew the road would not be easy for me either, but I was determined to try. I decided to apply for a scholarship to study abroad in Boston, in the United States. The journey was not easy, but I earned my bachelor's degree with honors. That achievement gave me the courage to aim higher. After this, I returned home to Saudi Arabia and completed my master's degree here at Kaust. All the professors supported me with kindness and understanding. Their belief in me inspired the confidence to apply for a PhD. During my wider search for suitable universities, I faced moments of doubt whether I truly belong and could complete this level of study. I was often told that someone with my health condition could not handle the pressure of a PhD work. These words did not break me. They ignited me. Given the amazing encouragement and support I had previously received from Kaust, I decided to apply for a PhD program here. This decision was not a difficult one for me, though, as I would be studying not only in a world-class university, but a community that believed in my potential. In my PhD program, under the great supervision of my PI, I had the privilege of conducting research on microbes capable of degrading plastic. Here, we strive to develop sustainable biotechnological solutions to help address the global issue of plastic pollution. This work fully aligns with the Kingdom's Vision 2030. Through this research, I have learned that science, when guided by purpose, can create hope, and that even small discoveries can make a meaningful differences for our planet. Through my experience, I have learned that Kaust welcomes students for their potential, regardless of their disability, gender, or race. Thank you, faculty and staff, for enabling this. We should never take education for granted, because not everyone has the privilege to access it. For some, simply sitting in a classroom is a victory. Success is not defined by perfect grades or flawless achievement, but by the resilience to keep going, the courage to adapt when facing the unknown, and the strength to rise after every setback. That's what brought each of us here today. So let us celebrate this moment together. To my fellow graduates, as we turn the page to a new chapter, may we carry with us the lesson that shaped us, the friendship that uplifted us, and the growth that defined our time here at Kaust. Let us step forward with courage and purpose towards new beginning and the boundless horizon that await. Congratulations, class of 2025. We have the courage to try and to persevere, and we have all made it.
Thank you, Laila, for these inspirational words to your fellow graduates. We will now proceed with the conferral of degrees. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy please stand? Mr. President, on behalf of the deans, I have the distinct honor and privilege to present these candidates who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective fields of study for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Professor Omanio. Candidates, you have all completed the highest degree awarded by this university. Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities. I commend you on your high accomplishment and welcome you to the community of scholars.
In a moment, each doctoral candidate will be called to the stage to be presented to the President. They will then receive their doctoral hood, which symbolizes their hard work and achievements. I ask Dean Matthew McCabe to join the President as we will now begin the hooding of the doctoral degree candidates from the Division of Biological and Environmental Science and Engineering.
Alexandro Moret, hooded by Professor Manuel Aranda.
Migley Conchuta, hooded by Professor Manuel Aranda.
Zhonghua Wen, hooded by Professor Manuel Aranda.
Alexandra Vancha, hooded by Professor Stefan Arold.
Giovanni Colombo, hooded by Professor Stefan Arold.
Zhang Junrui, hooded by Professor Stefan Arold.
Piao Yu, hooded by Professor Stefan Arold.
Siba Ibrahim Al-Harbi, hooded by Professor Stefan Arold.
Amar Dan Azumi, hooded by Professor Alfredo Di Biasio.
Li Chang, hooded by Professor Arnab Payne.
Muhammad Khalid Malaika, hooded by Professor Arnab Payne.
Eleonora Curzi, hooded by Professor Pierre Magistretti.
Maria Fernanda Veloz Castillo, hooded by Professor Pierre Magistretti.
Lin Xiaoyan, hooded by Professor Pierre Magistretti.
Fatima Hazim Al-Greish, hooded by Professor Monica Khudashvitz.
Gabrielle Morelli, hooded by Professor Valerio Orlando.
Reem Daouk, hooded by Professor Valerio Orlando.
Gang Yi, hooded by Professor Samir Hamdan.
Hajar Abdullah Zar'a, hooded by Professor Satoshi Habuchi.
Kai Jing, hooded by Professor Jasmine Merzaban.
Karthik Eswara, hooded by Professor Wolfgang Fischler.
Luay Khalid Al-Idrisi, hooded by Professor Ikram Blilu.
Maxime Sisuev, hooded by Professor Pascal Saikali.
Muhammad Abbas Al-Umari, hooded by Professor Pascal Saikali. Muhammad Ali Bdair, hooded by Professor Pascal Saikali.
Tania Cecilia Hidalgo Castillo, hooded by Professor Shahika Inal.
Zhong Yi Zhou, hooded by Professor Shahika Inal.
Abdullah Hassan Bukhamsin, hooded by Professor Khalid Nabil Salama.
Jeron Dermas, hooded by Professor Khalid Nabil Salama. Saptami Suresh Shetty, hooded by Professor Khalid Nabil Salama.
Ali bin Omar Balbaid, hooded by Professor Jasper Tegna.
Wang Changzhi, hooded by Professor Hong Pei Ying.
Julie Melissa Sanchez Medina, hooded by Professor Pei-Ying Hong.
Elisa Grassi, hooded by Professor Carlo Liberale. Kelly Joanna Cardona Londoño, hooded by Professor Antonio Adamo. Melanie Villegas, hooded by Professor Kyle Lauersen.
Nof Saleh Ibrahim Saleh, hooded by Professor Niveen Khashab. Rand Assam Zain Al Abidin Tawfiq, hooded by Professor Robert Hohendorf.
Tiziana Ricciardelli, hooded by Professor Luigi Cavallo.
Banan Abedallah Al-Hazmi, hooded by Professor Susana Nunes.
Malinali Ramirez Martinez, hooded by Professor Susana Núñez.
Ratna Eka Putri, hooded by Professor Johannes Vroevenvelder. Alexa Foster, hooded by Professor Michael Beruman. Kirsty Scott, hooded by Professor Michael Beruman. Anastasia Martinova, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte.
Diego Elihu Rivera Rosas, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte. Elisa Laiolo, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte.
Hugo Mann, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte.
Jacqueline Victoria Alba García, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte.
Ka Keng Lim, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte. Michelle Nicole Havlik, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte. Sophia Frappi, hooded by Professor Carlos Duarte.
Laura Macrina, hooded by Professor Francesca Venzoni.
Nikolaos Papayanopoulos, hooded by Professor Ibrahim Hotait.
سعيد عبد الملك الأمين, hooded by Professor Susanna Agosti. سارة عبد الله جزي الغامدي, hooded by Professor Susanna Agosti.
Andrea González Muñoz, hooded by Professor Brando Wolf.
Han Baoda, hooded by Professor Heribert Hurt.
Nicola Seco, hooded by Professor Heribert Hurt.
Emil Cavalle Josa, hooded by Professor Simon Krattinger.
خلود عبد الوهاب محمد صفرجي, hooded by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Daniele Da Fonkio. وليلى علي الدخيل, hooded by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Alexander Rosado.
I ask Dean Gianluca Setti to join the President as we now proceed with the doctoral degree candidates from the Division of Computer, Electrical, and Mathematical Sciences and Engineering.
عبد الرحمن بن محمد الحربي, hooded by Professor Diogo Gomes. الصديق عوض الكريم الصديق, hooded by Professor Raul Tempon. إيمان عبد الله كباس, hooded by Professor Howard Rue.
Juan Pablo Muñoz, hooded by Professor Jesper Tegner. Juan Pablo Bernal Tamayo, hooded by Professor Jesper Tegner.
نجوى بن صالح بن عسير الشهري, hooded by Professor Daniele Boffi.
Pyramid Olim Johnny, hooded by Professor Dominic Michels.
أماني وليد عقيلي, hooded by Professor Marcus Hadviger.
Zhang Xingdi, hooded by Professor Marcus Hadwiger. Yang Lu Yao, hooded by Professor Bassem Shahada.
منال بنت عبد العزيز بن محمد الشهري, hooded by Professor Mikhail Mashkov.
Marie Ramazanova, hooded by Professor Bernard Ganem. Mattia Soldan, hooded by Professor Bernard Ganem.
Lu Shuai, hooded by Professor Gabriel Vitom.
سمية أسعد تونسي, hooded by Professor Robert Hohendorf.
Gou Xiaochuan, hooded by Professor Wang Di.
Abdullah عصام طاهر أبو زيد, hooded by Professor محمد سليم علويني. فهد سالم القرشي, hooded by Professor محمد سليم علويني.
Lou Zhengying, hooded by Professor Mohammed Slim Alwini.
Arturo Burguete López, hooded by Professor Andrea Fratalocci.
بلال معصراني, hooded by Professor Eric Ferron.
Yasmin Marani, hooded by Professor Eric Ferron.
فراس حسن فطاني, hooded by Professor عاطف شميم.
Hu Jiahao, hooded by Professor Tariq An-Nafuri. Ma Xiuxiu, hooded by Professor Tariq An-Nafuri.
José Manuel Taboada Vázquez, hooded by Professor Xiao Han Li.
Zhang Li, hooded by Professor Khalid Nabil Salama.
Olga Krestinskia, hooded by Professor Khalid Nabil Salama. Octavio Jose Dezem Batozi Jr., hooded by Professor Shihab El Sayed.
Sebastián Celis Sierra, hooded by Professor Hakam Barger.
حنان حسين عتيق الله الأحمدي, hooded by Professor Paula Moraga.
Artavazd Maranjan, hooded by Professor Omar Neo for Professor Peter Riktarik.
Luo Deng, hooded by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Ivan Viola. Pan Qilong, hooded by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Sun Ying. Chen Sihan, hooded by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Mark Jensen. Geng Zipei, hooded by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Mark Jensen.
Alexander Voronin, hooded by Professor Udo Schwingen-Schlegel.
صابر بن فهد بن عبد الله الفرهود, hooded by Professor Udo Schwingen-Schlegel. صابر بن فهد بن عبد الله الفرهود, hooded by Professor Udo Schwingen-Schlegel.
I need the mic.
Mrudal Talil.
I asked Dean Chak Chan to join the President as we will now proceed with the doctoral degree candidates from the Division of Physical Science and Engineering.
Glenn Isaac Maciel Garcia, hooded by Professor Xiaohan Li.
Zhou Fuhai, hooded by Professor Sanjay Rastogi.
عبد الله عبد العزيز العمير, hooded by Professor حسين حطيط. عبد الله عبد العزيز العمير, hooded by Professor حسين حطيط. عبد الرزاق علي عمر, hooded by Professor حسين حطيط.
Carlos Daniel Rodríguez Hernández, hooded by Professor Hussein Hotei.
Enoch Basilio, hooded by Professor Hussein Hutait.
فيصل بن فهد الأحمدي, hooded by Professor Jorge Gascon.
Mohammed Abdul Wahab Abu Ali, hooded by Professor Jorge Gascon. Daria Poloneva, hooded by Professor Jorge Gascon.
Wang Xin Huilan, hooded by Professor Jorge Gascon.
Angel Oliveira de Souza, hooded by Professor Jorge Gascon. Farsi Abdul Rahman, hooded by Professor Subran Manyam Sharathi. Miriam Belmeki, hooded by Professor Subram Maniam Sarathi.
Edwin Guevara, hooded by Professor Subramanian Sarati.
علي رضا آل طويلب, hooded by Professor Subramaniam Sarathi. محمد رشيد أبو ظاهر, hooded by Professor Amir Farouk. Muhammad Abdullah C, hooded by Professor Amir Farouk. Muhammad Amin al-Mumattal, hooded by Professor Amir Farouk.
Takia Anwar Kashif, hooded by Professor Amir Farouk.
Emmanuel Alonso, hooded by Professor Ingo Pinao.
Piwi Datu Kaluba, hooded by Professor Pedro Castano.
Naidu Paola Zambrano Urrutia, hooded by Professor Pedro Castaño.
Cristina Silva, hooded by Professor Javier Ruiz Martinez. Paulina Lavrick, hooded by Professor Javier Ruiz Martinez. Yan Wang, hooded by Professor Javier Ruiz Martinez. Ekaterina Tosheva, hooded by Professor Luigi Cavallo.
Katia Michelle Aguilar Pérez, hooded by Professor Nivin Kashab.
Yu Pei, hooded by Professor Nivin Khashab.
Layal Yaqub, hooded by Professor Kiwi Huang. Lujain Muhammad Farhan Al-Rayes, hooded by Professor Kiwi Huang. Shada Saad Dawood, hooded by Professor Kiwi Huang.
Hu Miao, hooded by Professor Zhang Huabin.
Shahad Mahmoud Abdul Majid Slimani, hooded by Professor Nicholas Hatzichristides.
Akbar Nugroho Wikak Suno, hooded by Professor Volker Varenkamp. Bilal Aslam, hooded by Professor Bicheng Yang. Xinyu Yao, hooded by Professor Bicheng Yang. Milyausha Petrova, hooded by Professor Abdulkader Al-Afifi. Tojo Chirakal, hooded by Professor Franz van Buchem.
Abdul Ilah Khalid Dwais, hooded by Professor Ibrahim Htait.
Kali Suhendi, hooded by Professor Paul Martin Mai. Margarita Fittipaldi, hooded by Professor Sigurjón Johnson.
Maria Alejandra Perea Barreto, hooded by Professor Sigurjón Johnson.
Mohamed Randi Cesario Hasuko, hooded by Professor Tariq Al-Khalifa. Mohammed Hashim Tawfiq, hooded by Professor Tariq Al Khalifa.
Liu Si Xiu, hooded by Professor Tariq Al Khalifa.
Ammar Mahmoud Al Khalifa, hooded by Professor Diana Lacosta.
Daniel Vigorino de Campos, hooded by Professor Diana Lacoste.
Jordan Figueiredo, hooded by Professor Diana Lacoste.
Vineshwaran Sankar, hooded by Professor Diana Lacoste. Gian Maria Vici Conte, hooded by Professor William Roberts.
Chiara Canciani, hooded by Professor William Roberts.
Mohammed Bukhar, hooded by Professor William Roberts.
Raúl Andrés Serrano Bayona, hooded by Professor William Roberts.
Hassan Ali Mahmoud, hooded by Professor Jean Lebinou. Ihsan Fuad Al Farouqi, hooded by Professor Bassam Dali. Muhammad bin Nasser Al Dosri, hooded by Professor Eric Ferron. Ubada Abdelaziz Nurwali, hooded by Professor Eric Ferron.
Watner Barth Lenz, hooded by Professor Carlos Grande.
Bashir Elshan Hassanov, hooded by Professor Osman Mohammed Bakar.
Khulud Muhammad Mubarak Al-Masabi, hooded by Professor Uthman Bakr. Fatma bint Al-Hmaydi bin Hamid Al-Rashidi, hooded by Professor Iman Roqan.
Harold Francisco Mazo Manzanilla, hooded by Professor Atif Shamin. Lazaros Panayotidis, hooded by Professor Atif Shamin. Luis Víctor Torres Merino, hooded by Professor Stefan de Wolf.
Cengiz Jumagali, hooded by Professor Stefan de Wolf.
Alexander Matiash, hooded by Professor Frederick Lacaille.
Wajdan Ahmed Al-Sufyani, hooded by Professor Frederick Lacaille. Wajdan Abdurrahman Al-Thbeiti, hooded by Professor Frederick Lacaille. Razan Omar Nghais, hooded by Professor Omar Muhammad. Sarvar Khoja Ni'matullah, hooded by Professor Omar Muhammad. Shuruq bint Abdurrahman bin Ahmed Al-Umar, headed by Professor Omar Mohammed.
贺腾岳 headed by Professor Omar Mohammed. 郭天超 headed by Professor Hussam Al-Sharif. 马银畅 headed by Professor 张希祥.
Alexander Vronen, headed by Professor Udo Schwingenschodel.
صابر بن فهد بن عبد الله الفرهود, headed by Professor Udo Schwingenschlogel.
Lubna Muzabel Raymond, headed by Professor Omar Kineo for Professor Ziping Lai.
Riham Naimi, headed by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Jiping Lai. Sulaiman Abdul Azim Sulaiman Abdul Wahid, headed by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Hong Im.
Vijaya Mani Kandan Vijaya Rangan, headed by Professor Omar Kaneo for Professor Hong Im.
Shao Xiao, headed by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Hong Im.
Luis Huerta Hernández, headed by Professor Omar Nio for Professor Deria Baram.
Temur Maksudov, headed by Professor Omar Kaneo for Professor Thomas Anthopoulos.
Zheng Wenwen, headed by Professor Omar Knio for Professor Mario Lanza.
Yue Yuan, headed by Professor Omar Kaneo for Professor Mario Lanza. Murudil Talayal Puthiyavatil, headed by Professor Sanjay Rastogi.
Congratulations to each of our graduates on this distinguished accomplishments. We will now proceed with the conferral of the Master of Technology, Innovation and Entrepreneurship degree. I ask Professor Arwa Al-A'ma to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Technology, Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
Assalamu alaikum. Will the candidates for the Master of Technology, Innovation and Entrepreneurship please stand? Mr. President, I have the honor and the privilege to present the candidates who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their field of study for the Master of Technology, Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Professor Arwa Al-A'ma. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon you the Master of Technology, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
عبد الله فتحي آل حمود، عبد الله بندر الدوسري، فهد بهاء الدين الدواليبي، فيصل جاري العمري،
Farah Karat,
Gilberto Edgar Abraham Castro Sustaita.
حمزة سنان أبو قمر،
Héctor Emiliano Huidobro Falcón.
إبراهيم مانع الجهني،
Yulia Sajiva,
جنى علي الغامدي، ليان حاتم كتبي، مهدي الموسى، ماجد مازن زمزمي، محمد مصطفى المثنى، محمد بن فيصل الغفيلي، عمر جزدار، ريماس صلاح باشنفر، سعد بن محمد سعد البلوي،
Samuel Hussain,
سليمان علي الصحيباني، سلطان خالد الشايع،
Yifeng Xu,
ويوسف بن محمد الطيب.
Now we will continue with the conferral of the Master of Science degrees and postgraduate diplomas. I ask Bessie Dean Professor Matthew McCabe to present the candidates from the Division of Biological and Environmental Science and Engineering.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Science from the Division of Biological and Environmental Science and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honour and privilege to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective fields for the degree of Master of Science.
Thank you, Dean Matthew McCabe. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Science and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
Will the candidates for the postgraduate diploma from the Division of Biological and Environmental Science and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honour and privilege to present these candidates who have filled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective fields of study for the postgraduate diploma.
Thank you, Dean Matthew McCabe. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon you the postgraduate diploma and admit you to all its rights, privileges and responsibilities.
Arlan Yeljanov.
دان بنت علي العطاس. دانا خالد موسى الطاسان.
Hashim Al-Keiki.
Ma Huaiyuan. Liao Jingye.
Juan David Rosas Cabrera.
Mian Mashal Ahmed.
نوف الزيد. نور أميرة محمد يوسف. ريناد زياد راشد الأحمدي. شذع عبد الله الغامدي.
谢小元。张哲浩。
أروى بنت حسن فلاتة.
Cristina Mariela Chuya Zumba.
داليا السيهاتي. إسراء علي آل أبا زيد.
Gilda Quesada Correa. Johnny Israel Caixo Caranqui.
Chen Junfan.
ليان زياد كاظم.
Marzala Masood.
منال بنت محمد الشمراني.
Milena Chernyshevskaya. Mohammed Ashad.
محمد إحسان مولانا. عمر أحمد.
Plácido Colet.
ريان عبد الرحمن ملا. ريم بنت علي سعود القويزاني. ريوف نايف غازي الحربي. سارة محمد القطان. سوسن أحمد بوعيسى.
Tanisha Khan.
Vanessa Gámez Baez.
يزيد سعود الروقي.
Yasmin Hernández Mustafa.
Yunan Zhang.
زينب محمد سعيد المعلم.
马泽斌、
Andrés Duarte Espinosa.
Daniel Talbot. Firas Hilaloglu.
جيهان العمري. لما صلاح سالم. محمد رائد الداود. سارة عبد العزيز الغراب. زهراء رضا الخياط.
Sophia Walzer.
Alina Alejo Vinogradova.
رينا زاهر حلاوي غصن.
马星辉、
غدي المكرن. ولجين خالد الهلالي.
And now, I ask PSE Dean, Professor Chak Chan, to present the candidates from the Division of Physical Science and Engineering for the degree of Master of Science and Postgraduate Diploma.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Science from the Division of the Physical Science and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honor and privilege to present these candidates who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective fields of study for the degree of Master of Science.
Thank you, Dean Chak Chan. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Science and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
Will the candidates for the degree of postgraduate diploma from the Division of Physical Science and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honor and privilege to present these candidates who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective fields of study for the postgraduate diploma.
Thank you, Dean Chak Chan. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon each of you the postgraduate diploma and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
李浩、
محمد طارق، شذى الغامدي،
Thalis Stavridis. Alicia Nermanova.
Anabel Ochoa Ricci,
Bolawatifa Esther Oyeloye. Chanel Sito.
ظافر بن سالم بن ظافر البحر اليامي، لينا محمد بخاري،
Mysura Rahim Bacchus. Mihailo Merkovich.
محمد عبد الله الحربي، محمد ميرزا، محمد سليمان، مهند طارق حسين، رغد النهدي،
Ralph Gallup. Salman Al-Dossari. Tiago Virginio.
Wu Yiting,
أحرار إسماعيلي، Alejandro Rodrigo Pico Pérez،
Azra Fitseri Binti Karil Azizi. Elisaveta Pashini.
جمانة عبد الله الحربي، مايا أبو القنبز،
Mingyu Nier.
محمد هشام الخريصي، روان نبيل صالح الراجحي،
Sushil Samuel Dinesh.
Emilio Sánchez García،
Omar Akshith Suresh.
Alejandro Mesa Pemberti,
Kanya Fatima Safana. Maria Solio Dayankina.
مروان عبد العزيز الملحم، Paul Fernando Fajardo،
Rehan Turto Nugroho.
زياد الميموني، Alejandro Vallejo، آمنة عصام سمارن، شربل الصياح، Cristian Valladares، Ulises Bermán Díaz، عباس عبد الجليل الرامس، عبد المحسن السباعي، عبد الرحمن العتيبي.
Ahmad Afzal. Aidana Faizullah.
علاء محمد السيد عبدو. علي حسن الدرزي. علي مرزوق. Andrés López Aguirre. حسن محمد أبو علي.
Maria Al-Sinan. Mohammed Tifuti.
مهند بن سعيد بن محمد بن شمسان. مصطفى السلمان. عمر شفيق.
Patala Saumi Asri.
رائد بن بدر بن جار الله البريدي. ريا بدران. شمس مشير. صبا العلوان. Abel Cuevas Jiménez. أصيل إسماعيل الصلبي.
朱德康、
ضحى حامد البلادي. ضحى أحمد عامر. في بنت عبد العزيز الصفي.
Jiahao Lu.
Josué Delgado.
Momin Sartaj.
ندى طارق السلنتي. سلمى الخواتم. سندس قوقندي.
Uma Habiba.
روان علي الزهراني.
And now, I ask SEMSI Dean, Professor Gianluca Setti, to present the candidates from the Division of Computer, Electrical, and Mathematical Sciences and Engineering for the degrees of Masters of Science and Diploma and Postgraduate Diploma.
Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Science from the Division of Computer, Electrical, Mathematical Science and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honor and privilege to present this candidate who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective field of study for the degree of Master of Science.
Thank you, Dean Gianluca Setti. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Science and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
Will the candidates for the postgraduate diploma from the Division of Computer, Electrical, Mathematical Sciences and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honor and privilege to present these candidates, who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their respective field of study for the postgraduate diploma.
Thank you, Dean Gianluca Setti. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon each of you the postgraduate diploma and admit you to all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities.
Kai-Cheng Wang.
محمد سماغولوف. عبد الرحمن بن معتز بن مهدي الصباغ. عبد الرحمن عبد الله عمر بفلح. أحمد عدنان سيت. البراء مرداد. علياء علي آل الشيخ.
Aznur Aliyev. Chow Fei.
Gao Derui.
حسن بن علي بن حسن بوخمسين. إبراهيم محمد إبراهيم الصغير. إلياس آل عبد العال. خالد عبد الرحمن علوي السقاف.
Zhao Liangbing.
Mahmoud Ahmed.
محمود حسين عطية. محمود محمد زهران. محمد النمنكاني. أسامة بشير دبوسي.
Pavel Putintsev.
سميحة أمين يوسف.
Xu Tianqi.
Tong Zhang.
Li Weicheng. Cui Wenqing.
Wenshuan Zhu.
王新海、
يحيى يوسف آل مال الله.
杨子欣 Lu.
يوسف لؤي راجح.
曹泽化、
زياد الوليد الجعلي.
刘子悟、 杨宋奇英、
عبد الجبار أحمد عبد الجبار. عبد الله علي حميد الدين. Abril Campaña Alvarado.
Ahmed bin Afsal.
أحمد سيف قاسم الباشا. علي حلمي. عمار محمد الحسن. شعبان المنقعي. دانتي سيرانو كوبيليانسكي.
Eros Kukel. Gokul Krishnan Sivakumar. Juan Zhu.
Itzel Alcalá Rivas.
李佳龙、
Jie Deng.
马杰、 任可欣、
خالد أحمد كنعان. Luis Alberto Vázquez Limón. ميار بلال الخواجة. محمد المالكي.
Mohammed Ivansaya. Neil Joshua Limbaga.
رائف المعلم. Regina del Carmen Martín.
朱若晨、
سالم بن علي بن عمر السقاف.
商顺元、
سراج خوغير.
苏夏瑞、 王艳、 曹怡飞、 许迪飞、
Joao Cordeiro de Brito.
江露露、
Simón Pedro Galeano Muñoz.
陆怡婷、
ريمان مصطفى خضر.
Now we will continue with the conferral of the Master of Engineering degrees for the Ministry of Interior students. I ask Dean Gianluca Setti to present the candidates from the Division of Computer, Electrical and Mathematical Sciences and Engineering for the degree of Master of Engineering.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Engineering from the Division of Computer, Electrical, Mathematical Science and Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I have the distinct honor and privilege to present these candidates who have fulfilled all the requirements and who are duly recommended by the faculty of their field of study for the degree of Master of Engineering.
Thank you, Dean Gianluca Setti. Upon recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Engineering and admit you to all its rights, privileges and responsibilities.
عبد الله غالب العنزي. عبد المحسن بن سعيدان. أحمد بن يحيى بن سلمان الجابري. علي بن محمد الشهري. عامر صالح العطوي. أسماء ملهي. فيصل غزاية الحربي. حسن السفياني. خاتم الزهراني. ممدوح المطيري. محمد الشهري. محمد الأحمري. محمد عايض القرني. محمد الراشد. محمد حسن السلمي. معتز الشهراني. صالح بن علي الغامدي. صالح بن عبد الله الخريجي. سامي بن متعب الحربي. شهد الزمزمي. شايع آل دحيم. سليمان فهد الشمري. سلطان ناجي الزهراني، يزيد الشنافي، سعيد الشهراني، عبد الله القحطاني، رائد الحربي، حمود الشهراني، رابح الجهني،
Ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply privileged to welcome His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Minister of Energy and Chairman of the Kaust Board of Trustees. We further extend our welcome to their Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, and members of the Kaust Board of Trustees. We warmly welcome you. Your presence is a great honor and source of pride for us.
أهلا وسهلا بكم صاحب السمو الملكي في حفل تخرج جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية. والآن نرجو الترحيب مجدداً بالبروفيسور سير إدوارد بيرن اي سي رئيس جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية على منصة الاحتفال.
Please welcome to the podium once again Professor Sir Edward Byrne AC, President of King Abdullah University of Science and Technology.
It's a huge privilege for me also, as the president of the university, to extend a welcome on behalf of everyone here, our whole community, to our chairman and the Minister of Energy, His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, and the Royal Highness Princess and distinguished guests. You are most welcome, and it is a huge privilege to have you here at the university.
The world is changing. Can you feel it?
Everything is moving. Everyone is asking, what will you do?
You came here to learn, but you did more than that.
I built.
I failed, and I got back up.
We kept asking, what if? You learned that the discovery doesn't happen in a comfort, that the impact begins with curiosity.
That leadership means doing the hard thing first.
You learned to build what's next.
To shape the future you want to live in.
To lead with purpose.
To make a difference.
And today, you launch from here, carrying the vision of a university built on discovery and the drive of a nation building for the future. The world is changing, fast, and now we're ready for it. With our ideas, our leadership, our discoveries, ready to shape our shared future. Kaust Class of 2025. Go forward for Saudi Arabia. Go forward for the world. On a mission.
Your Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Chairman of the Kaust Board of Trustees, Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, members of the Board of Trustees, Kaust President, faculty, staff, graduates, and families. Can I ask you to please give another round of applause to our graduates? We are very proud of you. Your Royal Highness, with your gracious permission, may we now invite our graduates to join you for a group photo. It is a privilege that would be appreciated by all.
نرجو من جميع الخريجين بعد التقاط الصورة الجماعية البقاء في أماكنهم. شاكرين ومقدرين لكم. إلى حين مغادرة صاحب السمو الملكي.
Graduates, we kindly ask you, once the photo is taken, to please remain in your positions until His Royal Highness leaves the stage. Another photo will be taken of you tossing your graduation caps. Up front, we have the Minister of Interior graduates. Congratulations to everyone.
Okay, Hilmi is ready. Sorry? No, you will leave. Then. Okay, perfect. So let's take.
Oh, His Royal Highness wants to see the toss cap.
نستسمحكم في أخذ صورة جماعية أخرى وبعد الصورة الجماعية الاحتفال برمي القبعات. وريف؟
Yes, His Royal Highness would like to witness the cap toss, so please remain in your places. We're going to announce the cap toss, and then please stay on stage until His Royal Highness leaves the stage.
Can we have Eric, please? Congratulations, Alf Mabruk.
Please remain in your places.
رجاء من الجميع البقاء في أماكنهم. نرجو من جميع الخريجين البقاء في أماكنهم. Please stay in your position.
Please remain in your places until His Royal Highness leaves the stage. Please make way for His Royal Highness. He can barely walk.
يرجى من جميع الخريجين البقاء في أماكنهم إلى حين مغادرة صاحب السمو الملكي منصة الاحتفال. نرجو من جميع الخريجين البقاء في أماكنهم، ونرجو من جميع السادة الحضور البقاء أيضا على مقاعدهم إلى حين الإعلان عن نهاية احتفال حفل جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية. Can we please go back? Can we please go back to where we were so we can give space? If you don't mind? Because we want to give a space to hear at least
Students, can you please just step back and make way for the delegation to exit? Thank you very much. I know you're all excited, but please step back. Thank you. I'm super excited.
نيابة عن جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية تتقدم بأسمى آيات الشكر والامتنان لصاحب السمو الملكي الأمير عبد العزيز بن سلمان بن عبد العزيز آل سعود وأصحاب السمو الملكي وأصحاب المعالي على تشريفكم هذا الحفل وعلى حضوركم الكريم الذي أضفى على هذه المناسبة مكانتها الرفيعة.
On behalf of Kaust, we extend our sincere appreciation to His Royal Highness for honoring this ceremony with his presence and for his continued support to the university, its students, and its graduates.
And now back to Professor Omar Knio.
This brings Commencement 2025 to a close. Please remain in your seats for the recessional. Congratulations.